Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. That's Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And you can hear this broadcast on our audio streaming over PBS Evox receiver app and also on our shortwave broadcast through following frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. And this is your host, Jerome Toledo. Let's begin Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
The Civil Aeronautics Board, or CAB, assured the public on Friday that measures are in place to achieve lower domestic airfares. In a statement, the CAB acknowledged the passengers' concern regarding the high ticket prices of some domestic flights. The CAB, in line with the directive of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., has been implementing measures to help lower the ticket prices. So among these measures are the extension of runways to accommodate larger jets, and the CAB underscored that this was already accomplished in Antique and soon in Busuanga Airport. And to give us more details about this development regarding the achieving lower domestic airfares so that it eventually can boost our local or domestic tourism. So we now have on the line the Executive Director of the Civil Aeronautics Board, Attorney Carmelo Arcilla. Good morning, Executive Director Arcilla. Thank you so much for joining in the program Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is Jerome Toledo.
Good morning, Jerome. Thank you for inviting me to your program this morning, and good morning to all of the listeners.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so first point of discussion for this morning, Executive Director Arcilla, because Malacanang confirmed on Thursday that the Department of Transportation, or DOTR, has already held talks with major airline companies such as Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific on reducing domestic airfares. So can you confirm, Executive Director Arcilla, what was the result of the negotiations with major airline carriers to reduce airfares, and how much airfare reduction are we seeing here, Executive Director?
Thank you, Jerome. Something like this, this is an ongoing thing, and Secretary Banu Lopez and a team, including myself, met with the officials, the high officials of the airlines, local airlines, to discuss this possibility of reducing further the fares, especially to our major tourist destinations. And this was successful. In fact, both airlines reduced their highest fares, because if you will remember, yung fares in the domestic services and even international are variable, because it follows what we call the revenue management system that is practiced all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a highest fare, and then it is graduated to medium, to low fares. And most of the fares that are purchased are, of course, the lower fares. But if the destination is, there is a very high demand in particular destination, for example, Siargao, then the lower fares will be purchased early, and then last minute purchasers, buyers will have to reckon with the higher fares. That's the dynamics, no? But
Mm.
the problem is not necessarily the problem. The reality is there are destinations like Siargao, um, Basco
Mm.
that cannot accommodate I mean jet aircraft. And when jet aircraft is able to operate in an airport, the jet economics sets in, no, because it is more cost efficient
Mm.
operate jet aircraft than a smaller turbo aircraft. No,
Mm.
the difference is significant. No, so
Mm.
the long and short of it is the bigger configuration aircraft versus a 72-seater aircraft. The bigger configuration aircraft, you're able to distribute your cost to a bigger passenger base. And
Mm.
so that's a reality. So the program that has been adopted by the government is to improve or expand the runways in those airports. So as you mentioned earlier, we confirmed that Antique has been extended
Mm.
to 1,800,
Mm.
and Busuanga is already in the process. I mean, it's almost done. And then Siargao and even
Mm.
Basco, the technical requirements are already being evaluated. So
Mm.
we are going there to make the operations more efficient.
Okay. As you mentioned, Executive Director Arcilia, the that aircraft capacity and airport runway restrictions are crucial factors that drive high domestic airfares. So, with the CAB and its mother agency, the Transportation Department, will raise these findings to the president for further urgent call to action and possibly to fund the expansion of our airport runways. Because I know there's a budget for this year for some of the airports across the nation. So, would you raise this concern?
Yes, I will confirm it, Jerome. In fact, our secretary, Secretary Banoy Lopez, is in constant meeting with the president on this regard. And we're happy to report that it's not only the extension of the runways, but also we need to make our small airports night rated or night capable, no? Because
Mm.
if the airports right now, many of them, Siargao, Busuanga, many of them are not night rated, meaning
Mm.
that the operations are limited to daytime operations,
Mm.
then you cannot make more flights. And if you have less flights, you have less efficiency again,
Mm.
and it affects also the cost or the fares. No, so
Mm.
we thank the president. This is the I think this is the only time that the night rating funding of the airports has gotten
Mm.
a specific allocation. No? So this is historical in that sense
Mm.
that now there is a dedicated fund for the night rating because in previous years
Mm.
it always lags behind because of the lack of funding. So
Mm.
that's good news that we can now night rate and make night capable
Mm.
many of the airports that needed
Mm.
upgrading.
Mm.
So that's another um, program that
Mm.
the government is doing.
Mm. Okay. Okay. All right. So, having said that, Executive Director Arcilia, how many? I would like to know how many airports that doesn't have nighttime operations.
Actually, slowly but surely, the CAAP, the CAAP,
Mm.
is able to do the night rating, but there are airports that would need night rating,
Mm.
like for example, in fact, many of the smaller airports,
Mm.
Siargao, Busuanga, Tuguegarao, Dipolog,
Mm.
Hawaiian, especially Siargao, which has attained that
Yeah.
popularity, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So if there would be night flights there, then it will be a game changer. So
Mm.
the government is rushing these programs.
Okay, and they're now rushing these programs, so that's a good news, and it will happen very soon, as soon as there's a available funding for this expansion, executive director.
Yes, Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
And the Department of Transportation, the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines are now hard at work
Mm-hmm.
implementing these programs of um, extending the runways, which is very critical for bigger aircraft operations and also for the night rating,
Mm-hmm.
making the smaller airports night capable. So there will be more flights,
Mm-hmm.
and there are more flights and there are bigger aircraft, then it will reduce the cost of operation.
And so that we can accommodate those large airplanes like the Airbus A330 or newer models, so that we can accommodate a lot of passengers going to our local destinations. Okay, so this one, because I saw that here, executive director, that major airlines such as Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, Air Asia, and Sunlight Air are the key players in the airline industry in the country. So they're moving millions of passengers across the Philippines and overseas annually, executive director. So it also stated that few or just one airline company are serving in a particular regional airport. Let's put this for example, the Busuanga airports and Siargao airport as well. So at this point in time, does CAB support on accepting new players, either Filipino or foreign players? And I mean more than one industry player to apply on domestic destinations to make this industry even more competitive?
Yes, actually, Jerome, that's the current policy. We have a liberalized aviation policy in the Philippines. Whereas in the old days, we supported the government, or the policy supported monopoly. But since 1995, with the advent of Executive Order 219, that liberalized the aviation industry in the Philippines, the law now requires or encourages uh, two or at least two or more players in one route. So
Mm,
entry and exit, that's the essence of an open market. Entry and exit is open so
mm,
that any players, in fact, we encourage new players. And with the maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, we have a new law that amended the Public Service Act that removed the airline industry within the purview of public utilities, meaning that it is not anymore required to be a 60-40 undertaking, meaning
mm,
that because under the old law, the maximum equity of a foreign investor in an airline
mm, mm,
was only about 40%, was only 40%.
mm,
Now it can be 50, now it can be 60, they can be majority, they can even be the full owner of a
mm,
Philippine carrier, provided that they are incorporated and established under the laws of the Philippines and they are under the effective control of the regulatory agencies of the Philippines.
Oh, okay, okay. So any foreign player can 100% own and operate an airline company subject to regulations of the government. But nevertheless, the airline industry is now open for everyone who are willing to invest in this industry. Executive Director.
Hello, Jerome.
Yeah.
Can you come again? I
Sure.
lost you. I lost.
Okay, sure, sure. Okay, but you mentioned that everyone can enter in this industry either in 50% basis or 70 or majority or full ownership subject to regulation of the Philippine government. Anyone can enter investments, or anyone can invest in this industry, the airline industry. Executive Director Arcilia. Executive Director. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Jerome, I could not.
Okay.
You were choppy.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Agahang.
Can you, all right. Are you able to hear me, Executive Director?
I hear you now.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
repeat?
So, meaning to say, you mentioned about this that anyone can invest in this industry, either they're Filipino or foreigners, or they can own 100% possibly, which is subject to Philippine regulations.
Yes, yes, Jerome. In fact, we have one, which is Philippines Air Asia, which is almost 100% owned by Air Asia Berhad of Malaysia.
Mm.
And, you know, Southeast Asia is even the hotbed of cross-border ownership. Air Asia of Malaysia has 5 subsidiaries across Southeast Asia and even Asia. And they have one in the Philippines, which is called the Philippines Air Asia.
Mm-mm.
It is a Filipino airline that is incorporated and established under the laws of the Republic and under the effective regulatory control of our aviation agencies in the Philippines. So,
Mm, mm, mm-mm.
Philippines Air Asia, example.
Okay. So let me put this way, Executive Director. So for example, if I'll name a few airlines here. For example, Singapore Airlines or Cathay Pacific. Or, for example, the Qantas Airways in Australia can enter Philippine airline industry market.
Yes,
Mm,
the I mean the at the core of this principle is the our desire for investments to come into the Philippines.
mm,
And this kind of policy is not new.
okay.
There are already a number of countries, especially the EU,
Mm,
that have adopted this principle of principal place of business test or a place of incorporation test.
mm,
The traditional test of nationality of an airline is what we call the substantial ownership and effective control of nationals of the home state of that airline.
mm,
The trend, the more liberal trend, is a switch from that substantial ownership test to what we call the principal place of business test,
mm,
meaning that
mm,
if a foreign national or airline or any company
mm,
would establish a corporation, an airline company in the Philippines under our laws,
mm,
and of course they will be subject to our regulation, they
mm,
will be permitted, they will be monitored, they will be
mm,
um, scrutinized. So they are nationals
mm,
of this country.
mm,
So this is not new.
mm,
Um, we have modified our what we call the air services agreements of the Philippines with various countries, with Thailand, with Singapore, with Hong Kong,
mm,
and because part of our mandate in the negotiation of air services agreements, which we expand time and again to address increases in demand in
mm,
international services, we always put on the table that requirement of our side to amend the, we call it the designation clause,
mm,
because every bilateral air service agreement contain a designation clause which defines what would be the designated airlines of each country.
mm,
When you say designate, the official and authorized airlines of that country. And the traditional definition of that is the airline should be substantially owned by the nationals.
mm,
So in our, we hold maybe 6 or 8 or even 10 negotiations every year.
mm,
And we put on the table during our negotiations the amendment of that clause. And we have
mm.
succeeded in a number of them.
So it's an ongoing negotiations between major airlines in the world. So it's a good thing that those airline companies are expressing interest to enter our airline industry now that this industry is not covered under 60/40 sharing agreement, and now it's now subject to a full ownership, so subject for Philippine regulations. So that's a very good development, Executive Director Arcilia. So uh, should they continue pursue their investment here in the Philippines, that will surely reduce airfare or plane tickets, Executive Director.
Yes, Jerome.
Mm,
No? So this is actually under Republic Act 11659. No? It's a
mm,
pretty new legislation, and it's going to be a game changer because it will encourage more investments in the aviation industry in the Philippines.
okay. Okay. So my next question, Executive Director, because Communications Undersecretary Claire Castro, in her press briefing the other day, said the fluctuating fuel costs impact the cost of flight tickets. But the CAB noted that it continues to remind airline companies to lessen fuel surcharges once fuel prices drop. So, how often CAB reminds airline companies to slash their air plane tickets, and does CAB monitor oil prices in the market?
Yes, Jerome. Actually, we have devised the system. First of all, the fuel cost is the major component. It's the biggest
Mm,
cost component of an airline operation. So that's very critical in the movement of the fares. No, if
mm,
the fuel component is very high, then the fares will be high. So we devised a way by which we continue to monitor the international cost. We call it the Singapore benchmark
mm,
and even the Dubai benchmark. And then we have what we call a matrix, you know, that there's already a math in that matrix that says that every 29 peso increase, that's the threshold in the cost of fuel per liter, then there will be certain fuel surcharge. No, so
mm,
every month we monitor it every month, and every month we come up with that order or
mm,
directive to the airlines. For example, the surcharge will be lower to level 5 or level 4. So we have made it structured already. So we do not have to hear it because, you know, for example, in the land transportation sector, if there's a increase in fuel, the
mm,
stakeholders would apply for increase in fares. There will be a hearing, or it is overtaken already by the events. No? So what we did is to come up with a matrix. We call it the fuel surcharge matrix that
mm,
already defines how the fuel surcharge will move depending on the not only on the price of the fuel in the world market,
mm,
but also taking stock or you know we also infuse the dollar peso exchange
mm,
rates. No, so it's incorporated in that matrix. So every month we come up with our assessment and the evaluation, and then we come up with a directive saying that the fuel surcharge will, because there's also a when it comes to a
mm,
point that the fuel surcharge will cannot be anymore imposed at a certain lower threshold. No, I
mm,
forgot the figure.
mm,
So for now, there is still fuel surcharge
mm,
levels that are being imposed, but it's relatively lower as we are talking. So there
okay.
are different levels. It goes up, goes down, or you can go 2 tiers down depending on the. But it's already structured.
Okay.
So we monitor that very intently.
Okay, I wonder, Executive Director Arcelia, how much is this fuel surcharge? Because me, I travel domestically, but I don't see the breakdown of plane tickets. So how much is the fuel charges when it is incorporated in a plane ticket?
What?
Exec-
Sorry,
Sorry.
Jerome.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how
Nawawala.
much is the fuel surcharge that we are talking about, the Executive Director Arcelia?
Uh, so it depends on the distance actually. For example, in Cebu, this is about maybe 584 kilometers away from Manila.
Mm.
Then you can have, I think, about 200, depending on the surcharge, because we have levels, as I mentioned,
Mm.
depending on the movement of international price of
Right.
kerosene, I
Mm.
mean, aviation fuel, no?
Yeah.
And so when you look at your ticket, actually, there's a breakdown because
Okay.
the ticket has this breakdown of the cost components, and you can find it there actually,
Okay,
the
okay.
fuel surcharge.
All right. Okay, so we'll take note of that, Executive Director Arcelia. But nonetheless, fuel charges varies by distance and how much the fuel consumption it is. Okay, so and also one of the factors why a plane ticket in the Philippines is expensive are the airport fee and the travel tax. So does CAB closely coordinates with airport operators to further reduce the fees? For example, the airport fees.
Actually, this is because our mandate is purely about airline regulation, aviation industry, but when it comes to infrastructure user charges,
Mm.
then it is the department and the Department of Transportation, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines
Mm.
that handle them, the
Uh,
user charges,
oh, okay, all right.
this
So, okay,
infrastructure.
for that's under the scope of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. Okay, so okay, just to before I let you go, Executive Director Arcelia. So we break down of the reasons why plane airplane tickets are expensive, and there's the commitment here that the government is doing everything they can to reduce the prices. So, what can you assure to the public regarding this issue? Because as we know, Filipinos are calling for reducing the airfare. So, what's your message to the public regarding this issue, Executive Director?
My message is to rest assured, we assure the public that the Department of Transportation and the Civil Aeronautics Board
Mm.
are consistently monitoring the movement of prices. We apply certain analysis, cost analysis, market analysis, historical analysis.
Mm.
We make fare surveys to determine the distribution of the fares that are being sold in order to determine the average fares being sold, and we monitor whether there are airlines that are charging beyond what has been approved as the ceiling. But there is this perception issue because, for example, a an Airbus with 236 seats, or even an A330 with 459 seats, sometimes when we look at the distribution of the fares, the highest fares comprise only about maybe not more than 2% of the tickets sold. No, so if you have 200 seats,
Mm.
200 passengers, maybe four people bought the highest fares. No,
Mm.
but why are there high fares, medium fares, and low fares? No,
Mm.
because the practice all over the world, the rationale behind this process or practice is that with that variable fares, they call it, they use what they call the revenue management system.
Mm.
the airline is able to expand its market base and be able to sell low fares to those who cannot afford even medium fares.
Mm,
So the airline is able to cater to a wider segment of the market.
mm,
And in so doing, they are able to fill the plane. When you fill the plane, you are generate more revenues and you are able to reduce your unit cost.
mm,
So actually, the study upon study that have been undertaken globally reveal that the fares today, if you factor in inflation
mm,
and cost of money, would be even lower than 30 years ago. That is why
mm,
so many Filipinos are now able to access air travel
mm,
because in the old days, most people they're traveling domestically, they use ships, maritime transportation.
mm,
Now everybody can fly, no? And the reason for it is because of the prevalence of uh,
mm, mm.
low fares,
Yeah.
promo fares, no? But now, if 2% bought the highest fare, why are they buying the highest fares? Because
Mm,
they are last minute, possibly last minute
mm, mm,
passengers.
mm,
When you buy last minute, the low fares have already been sold out,
mm,
and you're highest fares because people will gravitate to the lowest and then next lowest, I mean, next higher and higher up the ladder
mm.
until when you want to fly tonight and you try to book, the highest fares will be the ones that are available.
Okay.
So there's also a perception component here that, for example, one or two or three or four people bought high fares,
Mm,
then of course it creates some kind of impression on the minds of the people.
mm.
Oh, I bought very high fares,
Uh,
no? But if you look at the average
Okay.
fares, we monitor them. They are we do not find any price
Okay.
gouging.
Mm, mm. Okay. Okay, okay, very well said. Okay, it seems to be okay. All right, so with that, thank you so much, Executive Director Arcelia, for joining us in the program. And we hope this development will provide or will have better results when it comes to reducing the airfare and eventually the industry or the tourism sector or industry will benefit from this development. All right, thank you so much. Okay, okay, thank you so much, Executive Director um, Carmelo Arcilia, for joining us in the program, the Executive Director of Civil Aeronautics Board. And with that, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center on Radio Pilipinas World Service. Together with our production team and technical team headed by Ms. Susan Aizon, on Warcast, we have Justin Ocias, and live stream, we have Mr. Leo Magpayo. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radio Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.
Shut down.